Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show this Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. There's an awful lot going on in the world. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. They're kind of like missiles or arrows. Each thing that's a problem, that could be devastating. Like the Atlantic Ocean current, the AMOC, uh, the aliens and AI intelligence and the financial system and the war and nuclear weapons and diseases, civil unrest. I've got all these enormous problems, and each one's like a missile coming at us, but they haven't hit the target yet. Except for COVID. COVID's hit the target, but other than that, I mean, they really haven't hit yet. But we can see the potential. And these missiles look like they're all headed toward the target, and they're all going to hit at the same time. What's going on out there right now is, you know what? In Russia right now, they're reporting the largest attack of the war. 6 regions in Russia were attacked. All around Moscow. It says residents shaken after buildings near Moscow struck by drone debris. But not only in Moscow, is other places in Russia too. They struck Peskov. It says, and there's been airplanes on the ground. The large blazes. There was a factory here near an optics factory near Moscow, and look at the giant mushroom cloud. 45 injured there. Now, I'll tell you something interesting is, I live out in the country here in Canada, and the boondocks, out in the middle, and I never see military aircraft flying over. But, I heard the jets, shoosh, flying low over my house, several of them there, just like 48 hours ago or something like that. And then I heard military helicopters. I seen military helicopters flying over. And then to top it all off, the icing on the cake is I seen one of these. The Canadian Forces CP-107 Argus. The one right over my head there with the pointed tail. Flying right over my house, for crying out loud. I've never seen anything like that before. Now, it coincided, all this military airplane activity around where I live, I knew something was up. I knew something was up. It's just instinctive. I said, something's up. These jets flying over me and Argus airplanes, these big Argus, that's the type they look for submarines with and everything. I said, there's something up. Sure enough, this is what probably it is. I'm not saying for dead sure that this is what's up, but they probably didn't know exactly what Russia's reaction would be to this immense attack. I mean, you got to consider something. I mean, how far would Russia be willing to let them go with this? Will they let them raise Moscow to the ground before they do something? Will they let them bomb all of Russia? I mean, this is getting pretty widespread. It looks like Russia's getting bombed almost as bad as Ukraine. How far will they let that go? I just don't know what's going on, but I do know something's up. Now, in other news, right here, hurricane in Florida. This is where it struck. Now, that orange area right there, a very large orange area, almost the whole panhandle area of Florida, almost the whole, all the way up, the whole that orange area that covers a huge area. That's just mostly tropical storm force winds. Hold on just a sec. Here, get this chart back. That's mostly just tropical storm force winds. It's in other words, probably not no substantial damage in that big orange area. But where this red area in here, see where it's red? That's where they got the big winds. That's where the hurricane force winds are, in that red area right there. You see, that's rather small. It's probably like, I don't know, 50 miles wide maybe, and it's dug in to Florida. It looks like about 100 miles deep. Probably 50 miles wide and probably 100 miles deep. Dug in like just they've been struck, and you're going to find in that zone, if you're in that little red area, you're going to find that there's a lot of trees down, buildings with damage, and everything else. When they wake up tomorrow morning, they take a look at the devastation. And what's it doing? It's planning on crossing back out into the Atlantic again. See, it's gonna go across the southern edge of South Carolina. It's crossing Georgia right now. It'll be on the southern tip of South Carolina, and it's gonna move up the South Carolina coastline, exit just on the tip of North Carolina, exit right there between North and South Carolina. There's a place called, it's going to go right over, south of the border. And you guys that live down that area, you all know exactly what I'm talking about, south of the border. You know, they got all those signs up on the side of the highway. What was his name? The little Mexican on the sign is a Mexican guy on the signs. He said he was called Pedro. That's who it is, Pedro. You know, you go and you'd see, when I was a kid driving through that area, you know, you'd see the signs, Pedro says something, some sort of joke or something, you know. And then you see another sign a quarter mile away, and Pedro this, as you're approaching south of the border. Anyway, so it's going to cross right over south of the border, head back out to sea again, and move off toward, why I'm having a brain fart. I can't think of the name of that little island. Bermuda. Sorry, Bermuda. Okay. Now, what else we got in the news is there's another African country, guys. Gabon. They've done the same thing. They're falling one after another, these African countries. And the military is taking power in them, you know. And look at them here, all cheering the military on as they see the old government go out and the new governments come into Africa. So this is something that's growing. More and more countries are doing that. Now I wanted to explore something else with you guys. There's a new COVID variant out there that hits you in the eyes. I suppose a lot of people, they're not going to recognize it as COVID because their eyes all swell up and they get conjunctivitis in both eyes. What's this? No, I don't want to subscribe. And I don't want this on either. They always put these players on the news articles now. Anyway, so getting back to what this is. This is called Arcturus. It's a new type of COVID and it hits you in the eyeballs. It gives you pink eye. Swells your eyes right up, probably nearly shut. All itchy and puffed all up your eyeballs. And you don't recognize, you don't think, hey, the first thing, if your eyes all swell up and turn red, you're not going to be thinking you got COVID. And it gives you a big fever. You know, and that's what it does. It says Arcturus differs from earlier strains in two ways. It tends to produce more fever than other strains. And its distinctive features, it seems to have a tendency to produce conjunctivitis, particularly in children. So I suppose a guy go into the hospital or whatever, you know, with this, and he wouldn't think he had COVID. His eyes are all swollen up, and the doctor probably wouldn't even. He'd just say, well, you got conjunctivitis, you got pink eye, and give him some over-the-counter medication or some prescription medication to put in drops to put in his eyes, which would just be basically antibiotics, and it ain't going to work. If it's COVID that's doing it, uh, it's generally caused by bacteria or allergies that causes this. They might even call in a specialist, some sort of tropical disease specialist, thinking the guy's got something really different than what he really has. The doctors, would they recognize? What a mess we entered into when we entered into this disease that keeps changing itself. The Atlantic Ocean current is going to collapse. It's called the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC. It's in the process of collapsing. And so the interesting thing about this is they made a movie about this a few years back. It says in this little picture right here, it says a tsunami floods New York City. Hold on. This mouse is driving me crazy. It says a tsunami floods New York City in the wake of a catastrophic climate shift in a scene from the 2004 motion picture The Day After Tomorrow. The premise of the scientifically, it says, inaccurate film. I don't see what's so inaccurate about it. Tell me what's inaccurate about that film. If the AMOC were to completely collapse, is anything that they put in that film impossible to actually happen? Because the last time the darn thing collapsed, from what I understand, is there was mastodon here. And they found them. They found the mastodon. They got grass frozen in their mouth. They were flash frozen so fast that that their meat is still editable after thousands of years, because they got flash frozen so fast from this thing collapsing. And so the movie was just, I would say, accurately depicting what this thing can do. This is just another one of these arrows or missiles coming at us. I'm starting to think maybe this really is doomsday. We got so many things, and nobody knows. Everybody out there thinks, hey, everything's just fine. Everything's just normal. Until these missiles start to strike home. And then they'll be running, pulling their hair out. They won't know what to do because it's caught them all by surprise. You know? But we're keeping our eye on this stuff. Even though it hasn't happened yet, we're keeping our eye on it on this channel. Taking a look at silver price today. $24.61. It's down 9 cents on the day so far. Taking a look at gold. Gold is at $19.43. It's up $6.60. Taking a look at cryptocurrencies for the day. And we can see that Bitcoin price has been rising. It's at 27,146. I mean 27,146. And Ethereum is at 1701. And we're looking at XRP at 52.4 cents. And they're all up a little bit. So they caught a little bit of a bid. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Why is this thing so slow? $34,910. And it's up 57 points for the Dow Jones. Oil price. Come on. Refresh the page. 81.20. It's down. It's up 4 cents. Now, here's the thing about the oil price. You know, I told you they keep it at 70, 60 for a little while, then they keep it at 70 for a little while, and each time it moves up fast to the next level, which is $10 higher. I'm anticipating it's getting ready. They move from 80 to 90 pretty darn soon. Taking a look at bonds and rates today, and what we're seeing is falling yields on the long end. 10-year is at 4.11, and it's fell 0.8 of a basis point. And the U.S. 30-year is at 4.23, and it's fell half a basis point. And taking a look at the dollar index today is at 103.15. And the dollar is it's fallen today. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.